There we go. Oh, I'm going to mute you, Kathy. Thank you for helping me with that. All right. So let's see. 1, 2, 3. All right, we're sharing my screen, and we look like we're good to go. All right, welcome everyone. Let me Tesla's here. All right, here we go. So welcome to tonight's Intuitive Listening webinar. I'm Cindy Myers, and tonight's topic is From Fear to Freedom. And here's a few things we're going to talk about today. We're going to have a little disclaimer. We're going to get into a little of my background. And then I want to talk about what is fear. And then fear, capital fear, versus little lowercase fear. And what does that mean? And how we can maybe tell the difference between the two. And then what we can do about it. And then the last thing I want to bring up is the motion frequency chart, which some of you have seen before, but I want to remind us how to use it, and it's such a useful tool, especially while we're talking about fear and how we can get out of it so that we can get to freedom. All right. So just a little disclaimer, if you're not feeling well, please call your doctor or medical practitioner. If you're having a medical emergency, call 911 or your physician. I don't diagnose illnesses. However, what I do is support you and your body so its natural healing abilities can work alongside your doctor and your other care. Well, a little bit about me. And actually, before we get going with that, I want to talk a little bit while you have time here for those that are online here with me right now, is to think about, I want to set our intention of what we mean by freedom and fear. So if you have access to your computer, you can type in the chat box, what does freedom mean to you? What is your first image that comes up? Or perhaps what you would like more freedom to go do or to be? And maybe put that into the chat box, or at least think about it for yourself. And that will help me when we get to the demo part too, on understanding where you're at, as well as helping to set the intention for today's webinar. The other thing I would like you to jot down in that chat box is, what is your definition of fear? Or what is your biggest obstacle in obtaining that freedom that you're thinking about, that you would like to achieve for yourself? What do you feel is your biggest obstacle? Maybe it's money or lack thereof, or fear of change, or perhaps it's fear of the unknown, lack of confidence in showing who your authentic self might be. So think about those things, about what your biggest block is in achieving freedom, and put that in the chat box, or think about it, at least for yourself, and put down what is your definition or the thing that you would like more freedom to go after. So while you're thinking about that, I'll tell you a little bit about myself and use my own description of my background to talk about my own sense of freedom versus my blocks. And if you'll notice, for those who have attended before, I had described myself for a while. I was trying on the label of medical intuitive, and I'm not crazy about labels, but I feel that it's important that I find some descriptor of the work that I do so people know if I can be of assistance to them. And I like medical intuitive, or if you read about what a medical intuitive do, it fits very much what the work that I do. It fits, you know, a lot of those descriptors. However, I'm not not crazy about the term medical. And that might be my own block or discomfort with the traditional medical system and industry. And there's a lot of charge, unconscious and conscious charge around the term medical. We can go right into sicknesses, and people want me to diagnose a lot, and so I don't want to go that route. So I've there's just something not quite resonating with me. Well, I stayed with that term for about 6 months and tried it in different locations, and I've used it a number of times, and it's okay, but it's not quite the right fit. So I came up with, the other day I was raking my alpaca manure, and I came up with this term, systems intuitive. And how I came about that was kind of fits with all my background as an engineer. I worked mostly as a systems engineer, working on entire system, radar system for the Navy. And then I worked a lot when I was counseling people. I worked a lot in the family system. I worked about half the time with children and about half the time with adults. But almost everything, when I was working with even the individual, it still had a lot of family dynamics. I had to understand the entire family system in order to help the individual that I was seeing and working with. So I needed the system. The system is still important even when we're working on an individual problem. And so it's true even with alpacas, because they're a herd and they work as a system. You need to have at least 2 or 3. They have more of a collective mindset. What affects one quite often will affect many of them. And so I had to understand a very different mindset of herd mentality, which is a system mentality, and not as individual based as dogs or cats or humans. And so I had to really learn a different way of being and understanding how to work with alpacas. And so now the work that I do as an intuitive healer, it too is really about the system. It's not just about the body. It's not just about our mind, and it's not just about our spirit, mind, body, and spirit. It's all 3 that have to work together. And usually why you're coming to me, whether it's for your animal or for yourselves, it's because something is out of balance. And it's not usually just one of them things. It's the whole system. There's something that's blocking from the whole system. And so I came up with the term systems intuitive that I'm now trying out. And unfortunately, I'll probably need a lot more descriptions. It's not as maybe easily understood as a medical intuitive, as may not be as well known of a term, because I haven't heard anybody using it before, but I can be the first. And maybe there are others out there, I don't know. But anyway, I would be open to your feedback on what you think of that term, if that fits with what you see me doing, especially for those who have worked with me. What you think of that, if that's an apt title or if that just adds more confusion. Anyway, with that, I am going to move on with our topic for tonight. What is fear? So what is fear? Fear is a physiological necessity that we really have to have in our lives in order to stay alive. It is about as basic of an instinct as it gets, right? We need the fear state. It is a fight, flight, or freeze, which is not an easy thing to say. Don't say it fast. Don't ask me to say it fast 3 times. I will stumble over it. I stumble over it saying it slow. Anyway, but it's that reptilian brain, and that runs that system. It is, if we are threatened, physically threatened, our life is dependent on something. It's a very reactionary state, right? It's a very reactionary system that we must depend on to keep us alive. We don't want to be in our cognitive thinking brain if somebody is running a red light. We just don't have time. We need to be able to process immediately that our lives are in danger and react, right? Or we may have a different system. We might need to be quiet and hide. But if our life is really, truly under duress, if there's a real threat to our lives, we need to be in a very reactionary mode. And that's what that system was designed to do, was to get us so that it can circumvent a lot of the other systems that are necessary for life, but not in that instant where our survivability is needed. It'll instantly shut those systems down or slow them down so that all the energy can go straight into defending ourselves to stay alive. So it's an important system. However, trapped emotions, a lot of the negative emotions that we have, that there's a component of fear. Our brain creates these emotions that are related to various experiences that we're having, or they could be memories of an experience that we're having. But the brain will generate these chemicals that course through our bodies. And the negative emotions do have, like this, my philosophy is that they have a fear component. And so as soon as you talk about fear, though, you're talking about that fight or flight response system. And it doesn't matter if you're in an actual threatening situation, that reptilian part of your brain, it can't discriminate the two. It just says react. You either need to fight, you either need to freeze, or you need to go run. Okay, those are pretty much your three options. And that's all it can handle in determining what to do in an instant, right? And so when we get triggered, we're going into that little reptilian brain. So this is important, so hang on to that. So now I want to talk about the difference between fear with a capital F, so I can help you differentiate it. I want you to think fear, capital, big block, like we just saw on the previous slide, versus lowercase fear. And the lowercase fear is for those emotions, those negative emotions, that anxiety, that anger, perhaps, that you're in a charged situation with somebody and they push your buttons, right? You get upset with them. Or maybe you're heading to the dentist and you have anxiety over what they might find. Or driving down the freeway, or getting in the car, doing something that is uncomfortable, worrying about the bills that have come in. There's anxiety. Maybe you're depressed over something. All those emotions have that fear component into them, but your life may not be truly in a dangerous situation in that moment, right? Or maybe it's a memory of something. You could be dreaming about. When we dream, we could have a nightmare. Those emotions are being triggered, but to our unconscious mind, it is reacting, and our physiology is reacting as if that lion is about to jump out at us and eat us. Okay, so it works the same. The physiology works the same. The habits created out of it are really hard to change, because in our unconscious mind, it says, you're going to die, so I need to react. So you go from, it's like a toggle switch. If you get triggered and you go into your fear brain, right? If you get triggered, you go right into your fear brain, which means I'm going into my reactionary brain. And that's that little lizard brain, okay? So we want to understand that I don't think we really realize how much of our life is spent in that fear state. And it really depends a lot how much of your thought processes are in the negative emotional range. Because again, if you're in that negative emotional range, you're getting a component of fear in there. So you may not, it may sound like and feel like you're making decisions on your own with your cognitive brain, but a whole lot of times you're not. It is that fear brain making those decisions for you. It's saying, conscious brain, you're in the back seat, I'm running because we need to react because I need to save your life. and it really thinks that it's important to do that. Okay. And there's a lot of things that when I become conscious that I'm being triggered, I may not want that little lizard brain making the decision for me. And so it's been very important and very powerful for myself to realize that, oh, when I'm getting triggered, do I really want that lizard brain to make this decision for me? Or do I want to get into my thinking brain? So just understanding when I'm going back, getting toggled into that fear brain, the faster I realize it, the better chance I can get back into my thinking brain and maybe make a different decision. Or at least I may make the decision like, yeah, I'm going to do the old habit, even if it's the fear habit and it's lizard brain making the habit. I just don't feel like figuring it out right now, because it takes energy. It takes a little bit of self-control and thought. You have to override some things. And it isn't as easy as it sounds at times, especially when we're triggered. However, when we can, that's when we get to the freedom part. So our goal is to figure out and find some tools on how to go from the fear brain to our conscious mind so that it can make a whole lot probably better decisions for ourselves that can get us to that sense of freedom that we want. Because that fear brain, whatever you may have typed into the chat box or thought about before we got started today, that block, that's that fear brain that's holding you back. Okay, it's really the little lizard. And what I like to think about, once in a while, the big triggers, the main triggers, yeah, they're pretty big, and maybe there is some danger to it. But most of the time, the vast majority of the things that I'm being triggered over are those things that are little f. And when I think about it, when I go through the process that I'm going to go through in a second, is when I realize, do I really want that little lizard? And I really think about it, kind of like the picture, that little lizard that's kind of cute, but I really don't want it to make the decision for me. And when I can kind of put it into perspective, and it isn't this big lion that's about to eat me, no, it's a cute little lizard. But I don't want that cute little lizard making that decision. I don't need to react because there really is a big lion coming out to eat me. So let's go through some steps to figure out how I can make a better decision for myself, some different choices. How do I access that thinking mind to come up with some better solutions than what I've learned to do in that reactionary mode? And so before I get to the chart, here's some simple techniques. I want you to breathe. Number one is breathing. Because again, when you go into that fight or flight response system, we tend to breathe more shallow, okay? And we don't breathe fully without thinking about it normally. We just tend to do the minimum to exist. And when we're triggered and we want to get into a calming brain, then it's important to breathe. So when you first realize you're being triggered, if at all possible, you want to breathe fully. And so I'll sometimes do breathing in a count of 4. So I'll take a deep breath on a count of 4, inhale on a count of 4, slow count, for as slow, as comfortable as possible. Hold it for a count of 4, and then release it on a count of 4. And I'll go through that process 4 times. And what I find is that when I take a few good cleansing breaths, that slows things down. It actually triggers more of this parasympathetic response system, which is the calming system. So first step is just to breathe, and quite often that's enough. Sometimes that is absolutely all that is needed, and it disconnects, especially if we can catch it pretty fast when you're getting triggered. That breathing can be absolutely enough to get us out of that fight or flight response system and get us into our thinking brain. But if that doesn't quite work, then what I like to do then is go into this chart where I want to go to a level above those higher frequencies. Because again, the lower frequencies that are fear-based are the emotions that are that are slower frequencies, the shame, guilt, grief, fear, anger. Those emotions are very low frequency, and those have the fear component in them. the higher frequencies tend to trigger our parasympathetic response system, or I kind of like to think of them, but the difference between having junk food versus something, a whole food. Your body knows exactly what to do with the emotions of love or above. It's very high frequency. They tend not to get stuck. The low frequencies, they're moving slower. It's very sluggish energy. So they tend to get stuck in our bodies much more easily, and therefore trigger the fight or flight response system. So to get us out of it, we want to go to the love or above. And so one of the easiest ways to get into those higher frequencies is just to think of 3 gratitudes. And I like to have 3 that I don't have to think very hard about. Because again, when you're in that fight or flight response system, you're in lizard brain, you're not in thinking brain. So we need something easy to access if we get triggered. And so I'll come up with 3 gratitudes that I can come up with pretty quickly. So the first easy ones that are good for me are, I love my animals. I'm so grateful that today I got to witness Yogi being silly and goofy out in the field and dragging a kiddie swimming pool all over the field, and then hopping into the empty pool and laying in it like there was water in it. It was very cute. So that made me feel very happy, and I was very grateful that I got to witness it. So, accessing my animals, easy piece of cake. Excuse me. Gratitude for anything. It does not have to pertain to whatever you're triggered, whatever is upsetting you. You just want those whole food chemicals coming into your body that's going to trigger your parasympathetic response system. Excuse me. So 3 gratitudes, good breathing, and just let it sit for a little bit and be patient, because it takes about 2 minutes for the positive chemicals, the adrenal, the parasympathetic response system chemicals that course through your body to counter the adrenaline-based chemicals in your body. So not a long time, just 2 minutes, but in 2 minutes, especially if you're in the fear state, that can seem like a long time. But if you keep breathing, you're doing your breathing in 4s and doing your gratitudes, you'll pull yourself out faster. And the more often you do it, that becomes your habit, your new habit of going to your gratitudes and breathing. It takes less and less time. And some of it's dependent on what you're being triggered at. But overall, on average, the more you practice it, the easier it gets. And the faster you get into your thinking brain. So the last thing that I do, once I kind of go through those first 2 steps, the last thing I do, I need an action step that takes me out of the habit, the default habit of whatever it was that the reactionary brain, the lizard brain had me do, that blocks my way to that freedom piece. So that the action piece is a phrase that I like to use of what would it take? Something of that nature. It puts me into an action state of mind. What would it take to do something different? So if I'm being triggered over, I don't know, somebody cut me off on the freeway, or I don't like that one. I'm going to go to the dentist. I'm a little anxious about that. So what would it take to feel a little bit different? Because I need to make an appointment, and I'm not making an appointment because that's just scaring the crap out of me. I don't want to hear what he has to say. I don't want to have to do it again. Whatever. I'm avoiding this, but that's not what's good for me. I know it, but I don't want to do it. So what would it take? Every time I go to make an appointment, you know what? I've got to go do laundry. We can come up with good excuses to stop us from doing it, but you know what? I really need to make that appointment. So I'm going to take a few deep breaths. And I feel lizard brain kind of kicking in about, I don't want to do that. Take a couple more deep breaths. I'm going to do some gratitude, thinking about my cute animals. So what would it take? You know what? I'm going to look up the phone number. I'm going to pull it up and dial. I'm going to pull up my calendar and pick a time. Okay, what would it take? I'm going to look at my calendar and pick a time ahead of time and say, do you have an appointment on this date? I'm going to take some action steps to make those things happen. So that action step, once I start going into the motion, I go, oh yeah, I could do that. Maybe they won't have the appointment. You see, lizard brain's kind of making excuses a little bit, but it was like, well, if they do, they don't. But at least I'm going to see what happens. So you can come up with lots of excuses. That's when the difference between your lizard brain and your conscious brain is it tends to come up with some excuses that says, oh, you know what? Before you make that call, you know what? Your laundry needs to get changed. Oh yeah, I got to go do that. That was lizard brain deflecting you off of that, making that call. You're headed to make the call, and it interrupted. It comes in. It sounds the same. It comes up with great excuses, great things to go do, but off it goes. It gives you. It sounds really good. It comes up with really good excuses. So if this is something you really need to do, and that's the next thing to help you realize when you're going into that triggered state, that fear brain state, little f. Not big F, little f, fear brain state, reptilian brain state, is you'll say, I need to go do this. The word need. I need to, I should have done that. When the day is over, it's like, doggone it, I didn't make that appointment like I said I would. And you feel bad, you got the guilt and you're blaming yourself, you get all these things. You go, I really needed to go do that. And I didn't. Shoot. Well, that was fear brain. That was your fear brain, and it came up with good excuses to stop you. But if you hear yourself, I really need to go do this, and you don't do it, then you're in your fear brain, okay? Because if you really need to go do something, you got to go do it. So if something is stopping you, that's that block, right? That's that emotional block that's keeping you from fear to freedom. So freedom to go do what you really need to do for yourself. That is for your best interest, for your most authentic self and your most high well-being. If there's something stopping you from doing that, that's little f. So think about what those little things are for yourself. What are those blocks that are doing that? Start becoming more conscious of what those things are and realize, oh, that's lizard brain. Do you really want lizard brain making that decision for you? And then practicing some of these simple tools. Breathing, gratitude, what would it take? And come up with some action steps and give it a try. See if that doesn't pull you out of it and you get to doing some of those things that you keep putting off. And listening to that word. And how often do you say, I need to do something? If you're saying that a lot, you're in the fear brain a lot. The less you're saying it, now you're getting out of that fear brain, and that's your sign of that block, that fear block, not controlling you as much. And woohoo! So those are fun things, not fun, but valuable tools to have for you. And to start with, I would just start recognizing how often do you start becoming conscious of your language. How often do you say, I need to do something? Kind of measure, step back and look at yourself and think about for the day-to-day. On average, what was your emotional state? Because we're all over the place all day, but were you 25% in the lower frequency emotions of guilt or grief or anger or fear or depression? What were you at? Were you 50-50? Were you more? See where you're at, because again, that will help you understand how much of your decision making is based on little f brain versus your conscious mind. And once you realize, you go, oh man, I spent a lot of my day not really being in control of my thoughts and my decision making. Is that working for you? And if that isn't working for you, then we might want to try some of these tools. Give it a try. See how it works for you. And if you need help, I'm here for you. I'm always here to assist anybody that needs it. So here's those steps for you in writing. You can see it. Breathe the gratitude and what would it take. And for that, I'm going to open it up now. I'm going to have some more events. We'll be doing more webinars coming up. Next one is an animal and emotions webinar in a couple weeks. I'm also working on a new course. It's geared for humans. Right now, the title for it is called Dream to Be, and we're going to be covering topics of how to use dreams, meditations, and spirit guides, especially animal spirit guides, to access and build confidence in your most authentic self, get to know your most authentic self. These are really great tools to building a bridge between your subconscious and your conscious mind. And I've had a lot of clients asking for more information and instruction on how to use their dreams and meditations, getting into the metaphor, getting into just how to work with them. So I'm working on that course right now, and hopefully we'll have that ready pretty quickly for you all. It'll be a 4-week class, is the plan right now, and it'll be using Zoom and webinar format, and I'll probably start a Facebook group just for that class so that we can have regular conversations between the once-a-week course. So in the meantime, if you want to get more information and learn how to work with your intuition, I'd encourage you to join my Facebook group. It's a closed Facebook group called Your Energy Healer. And we learn a little bit about communicating with animals and growing your intuition, how to work with dreams, and anything, other topics that come up, articles that I like to share that are related to being an empath. I have a lot of clients that are empaths, so helping you understand how to be more comfortable being an empath, what that means, how to set boundaries. I find lots of useful information to share with you folks on that, and I put that in that Facebook group. So I encourage you all to join that. It is closed, so you need to request to join. So please do that. And with that, I'm going to open it up for questions. If you would like more information, you can contact me at cindy@beananimallistener.com or go to my website at www.beananimallistener.com. And with that, we're going to open it up for questions and demos. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see, but I don't see the chats until I get out of my screen there. So, all right. So, freedom from Joan is letting go of labels and should have a strong foundation ability to take care of physical needs. Yeah, fear of confidence in myself. Yep, that's a common one. Freedom to live contented life of service to all. That's a great one. I love your definitions. Those are powerful. Very lovely. So fear blocks are fatigue and depression, and internal chant of I can't. Those are really great. So if anybody would like an experience of how to release some of the trapped emotions. So when I release trapped emotions, and emotions again are typically the negative emotions, the slow moving ones that get stuck. Those emotions are creating part of the habit, that fear, that little F. Those trapped emotions are the ones that kind of help repeat these patterns. And so I can identify those emotions that get stuck in the body and release them. And for humans, I can also tell you about what age they originally got stuck. For people that care to know and want to know that information, I can identify that. And so sometimes that's useful in helping us understand the patterns of, or the source, the original source of where that habit originally came from. And that knowledge can help us sometimes recognize when we are being triggered more quickly. Because again, the faster we can recognize that we're being triggered, then typically the faster we can get out of it. So identifying the trapped emotions, getting rid of them, what happens too, then we may have like a lingering, we get a lingering, it's almost like an echo, or yeah, like an echo of the habit, but you don't have that strong drive. It's like when you get triggered, it's like you got to do it that way. There's just no stopping it, because little fear brain or big little fear brain just took over. That reptilian brain just took over, and you're reacting, right? So when I remove the trapped emotion, it doesn't it's like you're not putting the gas, you're still going that way because that's the habit and that's what you kind of automatically want to go do. But it's not like you have somebody put the gas pedal down and you're going for it. So there's a little less drive to react that way. So that's when the tools that we had talked about, the gratitudes and the breathing and the what would it take, that's when it can really help you pull out of it much more fast, more quickly. So anybody that wants to try getting some trapped emotions removed, raise your hand, or I might pick on people too and see if you want me to do anything for you. And it doesn't have to be for you either. If you have a pet that you want me to work with, it works very similar for them in that because they have the same emotions. They may not have as big of a emotional vocabulary as an adult human, but the physiology works the same, and how the habits get created works very similarly. What I do for animals is that I remove the trapped emotion. They don't care about the age. So I remove the trapped emotion, but what I do then is work with the people and say, well, what do we want to do instead? So for somebody that, their animal is suddenly having accidents in the house, is it because they just maybe went on vacation and the animal's been a little nervous about being gone or having some anxiety? Get rid of those trapped emotions and then tell them what we would like them to do. Let's go back to your litter box. Let's go back to going outside to do your bathroom duties. Michelle, okay, you would like to have some trapped emotions removed. I don't know if you have voice capability, but let's try it.
Do.
There you are. Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. So you would like to get some trapped emotions removed?
Yes.
Before I get started, do you have anything? Oh, you already wrote, I am concerned about your health. Okay. So you have something going on with your health. All right, then take me a second and I'm going to tap into you. We're going to just trust your subconscious, and you've had some intentions today for this topic. So I'd like you to just kind of hang on to the intention of freedom. What does that mean for you? And it might be related to your health, of having good health, the freedom of having wellness. I want you to hang on to that intention, and we're going to tap into your subconscious and trust it to know exactly what we need to release. Do you want the age of the trapped emotion?
Yes, please.
Okay, can you give me your current age? Do you mind?
62.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to just tap into your body right now. Just give me a moment while I scan things. Okay, so I'm feeling some stuff. First thing I've felt is lower back. And it's towards the back, but sometimes that indicates kidneys where I'm feeling it. It's actually a little lower than that, though, so I'm not quite sure. So anyway, I'm going to trust your subconscious. I'm going to go ahead and release the first thing. So the emotion is worthless. Age 38. And I'm accurate plus or minus a year, because sometimes you're close to, 37, 38 or 38, 39. So depending on when it got stuck.
That makes
so
sense.
Think about that. So that's the emotion. Let me release that. Okay, now I'm feeling neck is really tight.
Yes.
And this is about as far as I don't know if this is accurate too. I don't know if you can see my head, but I'm about 45-degree angle to the right, even less to the left. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. So the emotion is low self-esteem. Age 19 is when it originally got stuck. Okay, felt a little crack. We released a little bit. It was very high up. I don't know, do you get any vertigo? No.
Dizzy? Okay, good. Because that was pretty high up where I felt the release. Sometimes when it's that high up, people get a little dizzy. Taken for granted is the emotions. Age 33. Oh, there we go. That actually cracked high up in the back. Okay, I think you have a little more rotation in your neck. Yeah, a little more to the right. Left is still stuck. So let's see what we can do there. So, anxiety is the emotion. Age 49.
Okay.
Okay, and I think you can move your neck more to the left.
Ooh, just
try
pop.
that. It just popped?
Yeah.
Yeah. A
Well,
little more freedom. Is it more comfortable?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm feeling back down into your lower back. So interesting. It's like a little elevator going up and down. It's kind of low in the spine, not quite to your tailbone, but heading to that part of your back where it starts to curve down into the tailbone.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm feeling it. Helplessness is the emotion. Oh, okay. This was stuck when you were in the womb of your mother. So when that happens, it's usually the mother is going through those emotional states. And again, the emotions get stuck in the body, and you're part of it. Either transfers through the placenta or you're part of the tissue. So it gets stuck in your tissue. You're the tissue of your mom at that point, right? So it gets stuck in you. Those are great ones to get rid of because we don't have a verbal language yet because you're not born. But they act like a magnet. All these emotions have an electromagnetic component to them. So we start attracting it, that emotion, and it gets stuck there. So I guess it got probably stuck in the lower part of your spine when you were in the womb. So I don't know if you know what was going on with your mom at the time, but she was having that emotional state. So I cleared it. Okay. Now I'm feeling stuff still. Gosh. Okay. So the kidneys are vibrating. They're not vibrating at their normal frequency. So let me I'm getting, should I clear a different way? Yes, okay. So I'm just going to do a little bit different clearing for them, if that's okay. Right or left? So the right one, so the same, to do the right one. Okay, so I'm going to do the right kidney first, at least first. But hang on, let me clear that. There. Okay, I got a little more release up your spine. I don't know if you felt that. Did I clear that a little better? So the kidneys are filters. So either you're filtering extra stuff. So, you know, I don't know if you're taking any pharmaceutical type stuff, but anything that you need to be processing out, the kidneys and liver sometimes are working overtime trying to process stuff out.
I had a virus about 6 months ago, so I'm sure that there's probably some lingering from that. It was in my kidney.
Ah, okay. Do you know which one?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, you know, even if you don't, it doesn't. I'm going to do the other one. Let me clear the other one, because if the virus was in one, that means the other one was having to work extra hard. So
Right.
They're both out of balance. Because the first one I felt was really on the left, but I was told to clear the right. So I don't know if the right one is the one that's working harder because the left one isn't fully functioning, or vice versa. I'm not quite sure. I know that I can sense they're both out of balance. So let me clear the other one real fast. Okay. To clear both of them. So you might want to, if it's still kind of feeling sluggish, we might want to do some more sessions and get in there and do some deeper cleaning, because there still feels out of balance. I try to open it up a little bit, but hopefully you feel better. And it takes about 24 to 48 hours for these emotions to fully process out. And so you want to check to see how you're feeling in that 24 to 48 hours. Hopefully you're feeling better, and that it holds. But what I like folks to do is, you know, we want to see the momentum of healing going good. But if there's any setback, then we definitely want to hit it quickly, because we want the momentum of the healing to keep going positive. You don't want to go back to square one every time, right? So keep an eye on that and see how you're feeling, hopefully. And the other thing that my intuition, at least not yet, maybe at some point it will evolve to that, these emotions that affect us, there's like a threshold, and that we may have a built up of these trapped emotions and not know that it's impacting us at all. And they keep building up, and then there's like this threshold that once we get past it, now we know that we're not doing good. You know, we feel it. We feel the stiff neck. We feel the, you know, whatever is going on. The habit kicks in that's really impacting us and causing a problem. So when getting rid of those trapped emotions, we want to get it below that threshold. But a lot of times I'll get it, I don't know how far below we're getting it. So that's where your job is important in monitoring how you feel, so that if those trapped emotions start poking back up above that threshold, we want to get it. And somehow, some of how I can tell and help know how far below that threshold is by how long, how big of a healing process, you know, how much better you feel. So we could have put some of your discomfort on a scale of 1 to 10. So if you were at a 7 or 8 and you go down to a 2 or 3, we know we made a big change. But I know that we're still over that threshold because you didn't take it down to a 0, right? So that's one way to kind of judge and for yourself on how you're doing, is keep it on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10's worse. And then, okay, we get it down to 0, but you might just be down here and you do fine for a few days, and then you get some stress in your life and something is triggering you, and whoop, go right back over it. So that tells me that we're really close to that threshold, because you went 3 or 4 days and you felt great, and then all of a sudden you went over and you felt
Mhm.
something. So that tells me, again, that's good information on knowing how close to that threshold we are. We do a session or two, and you may go a week, 2 weeks. Now we know that we're getting more padding. And so our goal is to give you plenty of padding so that you can have the normal stresses in life and not have it go bloop and cause you problems, right?
Mhm.
So those are our goals in working together. And when I work with people in our sessions, especially the 15-minute sessions, we do a lot of that where we kind of assess where we're at, so I can tell exactly where you're at in that threshold and how much
Mhm.
padding you have for the various issues. And it's not just like one size fits all. You know, there's different issues. You might have a neck ache. That one, especially for us women, we tend to carry a lot in our necks and our shoulders. So we're usually right at that threshold, and I can get it so low, but we just tend to carry it. So we get a little bit of comfort, and then we go right back over it, because that seems to be a very common place that we carry our stress and different emotions, and it just tightens up. But it also may infect another part of our body as well, and that we may clear. And once we clear it enough, we're good to go for a long period of time. But the neck, we tend to have certain spots in our body that just are our sensitive areas, and that's where we store a lot of trapped emotions. I cleared, what was it? There was like 1,000 in somebody the other day in their hip. There were 1,000 trapped emotions of one emotion. It was just one emotion that was stuck. That was the main emotion that was causing the issue in the hip. That doesn't mean that there weren't other emotions, but that was the core emotion that was really causing the biggest part of the problem. So we're hacking away at that 1,000 trapped emotions. And they were also working with their chiropractor. The more that we remove those trapped emotions, then the chiropractor, when they realign you, it has room for it to actually go in place and stay in place. The problem sometimes when I'm working with a chiropractor, somebody that's going to chiropractor, is before they started working with me, is the chiropractor would adjust and it would be okay for a little bit, but go right back out.
Mhm.
And that's because the trapped emotion is still there, causing the distortion, and it's just there's no place for the alignment to go. It pushes it right back out. So when I remove those actual chemicals and zap them, it gets smaller and smaller. So now when they adjust, it gets in place. So there's more healing energy that goes to that spot, and the adjustments tend to stick a little bit better and last. Or if you go to masseuses, they'll find, oh my goodness, I'm finally getting those knots out that I could never get out, or it takes less time for them to get the knots out because we remove those trapped emotions. So it makes a difference. So thank you for sharing and for letting me practice,
Thank
for
you very
working
much.
on you, letting others to witness how it works. We have a couple minutes. Anybody else, if they would like to experience it? Joan, you have your hand up. I don't know if you just put that up. Yeah, I'm going to try unmuting you. I don't know if you have voice capability. Are you there, Joan?
There we go. Can you hear me?
Hi, I can. Hi.
Oh,
Did you, I don't know if you had just put your hand up or if that was from earlier.
I put it up because I was wanting to experience the energy moving.
Oh, very good. Okay, excellent. Do you want the to know the ages of when the emotions got stuck?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, and can you mind telling me your current age?
58.
58. Oh, we're the same age. Very cool. Happy birthday to us. Is there, again, I think we should just trust your subconscious, but again, think about, you were very good about jotting down in the chat area what freedom and what the different emotions mean to you. So think of those intentions, unless there's something else you would like me to clear. Hang on to those intentions. And I'm going to tap, with your permission, I'm going to go ahead and tap into you.
Mhm.
Mm. I just got a little wave of a headache. I don't know, up in my forehead. I don't know if that was yours or mine. Kind of right in the forehead.
Mhm.
Um,
Interesting, because I was aware of my abdomen, but right before you said that, I was aware of the same thing, the feeling in my head.
okay. Okay. So that's the first thing that your body wants me to remove. We may get down into your abdomen, but your subconscious says start with the head. So let's start with there. Worry is the emotion. H38. Still there a little bit, not quite as much. It's more over the right eye than the left. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Frustration is the emotion. H26. I cleared it. That's better. Okay, so I'm starting to feel that intestinal tract more, and I think it feels like, and I'm not good at, it's been like 30 some years since I've taken anatomy. So, but the where the intestine is coming out of your stomach, it's going down that first turn.
Mm-hmm.
As it comes down, there feels like a blocked energy there, which is very common when people get stomach issues. They think it's your stomach, but it's in the intestine, and it gets the food or whatever. That's kind of, I think, where a lot of the digestion starts really kicking in there too, the absorptions and stuff. But it's a little clogged there. So let's see if I can clear that up a little bit. Depression. H54. Cleared it. So if I were working with you with my guides in a session, in a full session, I'd want to get my guides in there and do what we kind of call a roto-rootering, where we go in and we really kind of clear the trapped emotions that are it's like at the various turns, which is common. It's like any plumbing. It's where the sharp angles are that things get clogged in there, and so I'm feeling clogged energy going as it turns in and out through your intestines there. And it's not bad, but there's some clogged energy there. So we'd want to go in and not only remove trapped emotions, but have them they have some techniques. I have these guides that come in when we do big full sessions sometimes, and they go in and clear things out and help with that issue. So you might think about doing that. That would be very beneficial to you, I think. Let's see, what else can we do for you? I had felt, is your left hip, how is your left hip?
It's been aggravated again.
Okay. Because I felt a good twang a bit ago on my left hip. So, unworthy is the emotion. Age 17.
Mm. Mm.
Oh, it looks, there's that, I think it's called the psoas muscle. Again, 30-year-old memory. I might start sneezing. It's very dusty for those memory cells. But it's kind of that, it's a short muscle tendon area or whatever. It kind of looks like a short thing that's attaching like from your upper hip down into your, probably your femur, I guess. I don't know. But it looks like a short muscle, but it looks really cranky. Looks like it's not flexible. It's not as supple as it should be. So again, another good thing that my guides would come in and do some nice healing work. Oh yeah, and also there's some micro tears in there of the muscles, and like the muscles going into like probably the tendons, and so that's causing part of the problem. And oh yeah, and there's some wearing down of like the I guess the padding in there. But the guides can come in and do some help with that as well. So something you might want to think about, and I do need like the full 45-minute session when the guides come in, because what I do, and it's a little different than just removing the trapped emotion. When the guides come in, when I see that stuff and they show me what's going on at that really microscopic level of detail, is that I place myself in a trance. I can be on the phone with you, and I can talk to you most of the time and answer your questions, and I can describe what they're doing, but I'm in a pretty deep trance, and it usually takes a good 30 minutes to 45 minutes for them to do their work and really get the healing energy flowing, because there's a lot of trapped stuff in there that's causing problems. So they're pretty good. So, and I just kind of channel and go along for the ride. But I guess I'm needed as the channel for them to come in and do the work on you. So something you might want to consider, because I think we can help get the healing energy going in your hip and the other parts. So, any questions?
Okay. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Well, with that, we're at the top of the hour. So thank you all very much. If you're interested in sessions, how I work, if you go to my website, theananimallistener.com, what I recommend are for people that haven't worked with me before, the starter package, which includes the 45-minute session. And again, that would be perfect for somebody that needs the guides as well. That will go over a lot of details of how I work, and lots of time to get in there and do some really deep clearing. And then you also get a follow-up 15-minute session, which then if there's any more little tweaks that we need to do, clearings, like what we just did with the removing of trapped emotions, we can do that. And what's really important with that 15-minute is we continue the momentum of healing. Again, I really don't like when we have to go back to square one with folks if we can help it. So I encourage you all to try that if you want. And again, how I work, I do all my work over the phone, so you can be anywhere. And once you purchase a session, you'll get a link to my scheduling system, and you can pick whatever time works best for you, and I call you at that time. Piece of cake. So with that, thank you very much for coming on today. next, in 2 weeks, we'll be doing an animal and emotions webinar. And we'll be doing more of these intuitive listening webinars too. And look for your inbox for the course. Hopefully, my goal is to try and get it out this summer, maybe next month. Even what I'll probably do is for you folks that have been coming onto the webinars, I'll be offering it to you first as a pilot and at a greatly reduced price since it'll be a pilot class. And then once we go work out the bugs, we'll be doing it more often. And I hope that this course too will be one that we'll want to repeat, because man, there's so much about working with dreams and meditations and understanding how to work with them, besides feeling good after, especially meditation. You feel good, but there's so much more that we can grow and use them, how to use these tools that our body creates for us, and how to access our subconscious so that it is working for us instead of against us. So with that, thank you very much for coming on tonight. Have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to hearing from you all soon. And with that, have a good evening. Bye all.
Thank you.
Thank you.